Hey guys, welcome back to the Hands-On channel. I'm out here in my garden today and I was just pulling some weeds and stuff like that, and I thought, you know, it's about time I make a video on just 2 or 3 different things that you can do in your own suburb backyard that will help you to avoid the coming famine, the coming collapse of everything. I'm not going to go into a bunch of depth on this. You guys know, if you follow the channel, how I feel about everything that's going on with FJB and all this and the entire system collapsing all around us. Maybe not all at once, but it's death by 1,000 cuts. So anyways, I wanted to talk to you about a few things you can do just as a peace of mind and as insurance against the coming famine, because we're going to hit a point, in my opinion, when things just won't be available anymore. Go ahead, stock up now while you can. That's all good stuff, but you can only stock up so much stuff. So the next step is producing your own food. So that's a big deal. I mean, not a lot of people have the time or the patience for that sort of stuff. I hear a lot of people saying, oh, I don't have a green thumb. Well, guess what? I didn't either, and my wife didn't either until we worked at it for years and years. It just takes a lot of time and also research. You can go around and find books on gardens in your own area, and don't always trust the stuff that you see when you buy a plant from like Home Depot or Lowe's or your local nursery, because a lot of times they'll sell you plants that won't even grow right in your climate. So be real aware of what zone you're in and that sort of stuff. For my zone here, it gets really hot and we have a pretty long summer, so I can grow a lot of stuff. I can't grow a lot of the colder weather stuff, but I can grow a lot of stuff here. And we've been concentrating heavily this year, more so than ever, on potatoes and trying to expand our potato crops more than ever. And that's just simply because potatoes put a lot of food in the belly and they're fairly easy to store in the right conditions. You can keep them throughout the winter. So I want to pull you in here and we'll just do a quick walk around, and then we'll go on to the next phase. Gardening is probably the easiest thing to get into because you can do it like we've done it, on the cheap. And you can see back here behind me, I've used everything and anything that I can come up with. Maybe it's not everyone's cup of tea, it's not the most beautiful thing, but I've got green lush vegetables growing out of these old filing cabinets. And over here you can see that's an old lateral 5-drawer filing cabinet that I took all the drawers out of and turned it on its back. And the reason we have to do that is because we have so many moles and gophers around here, and in the past they've gotten into our crops and damaged or destroyed the root structure to the point where the crops failed. So we're trying to avoid that by using raised beds. If you don't have to worry about that in your area, then plant straight in the ground. That's probably a lot easier, but you're going to have to amend that soil and do different things to make your garden grow and produce the maximum amount of fruit. And of course, as soon as I start talking and being out in the backyard, all the freaking neighbors' dogs start barking every single time. So very annoying. I'm sure they're annoyed by my roosters crowing at 5 a.m. in the morning, but hey, whatever. It's the way it goes. But just want to show you around a little bit. We've got some grapes over here growing. We'll get you pulled in here and we'll look at some of these grapes. Now, of course, this is not a crop you're just going to throw in the ground and have immediate results with. We've had these in the ground here for a couple of years, but we've got more production over here. We actually moved this grape. We had it located over kind of by that bush that's out by itself there. We had it located there in the past, but it was getting too much sun. And again, I'm in a hot climate. They tell you on the listing, so they'll tell you on the pot that on these grapes you want them in full sun. But again, that depends where you are. If you're in a super hot climate like I am, sometimes full sun means just about 6 hours of sun a day and then shade the rest of the time. As you can see, we've got dapple shade here coming off of this giant, what is this? A maple tree, giant maple tree here. And so it shades our garden. We've thought about taking that down, but in these dog days of summer days, like right now, it's 100 degrees right now. So at this time of the year, it's just too hot to have these plants in the direct sunlight, even though many of them call for being put in the direct sunlight. We've got some squash going right here. You can see the squash flowers on this. This was just an old car tire that I cut the end cap off of, and before I filled it up with dirt, I put a piece of metal down in the bottom. Hopefully the gophers and moles will not be able to climb up in there. My wife's got all kinds of chives going on right there next to it in that bucket. I'm not sure exactly what all she's got in this center one here. We had a mulberry tree in there last year, and we were trying to let it grow because mulberries are obviously a good food to eat and put up and store, put into jellies and things like that. but it ended up shading the rest of our garden so much that it was actually hurting our gardening situation. So we went ahead and took that down this year. Right over here, some of the drawers that I pulled out, and it's going to be difficult for me to get a good shot of this because the lighting is weird right over here. It's always hard to shoot when there's dappled shade like this, but these are all potatoes here, and these are the drawers. Those are 4 of the drawers I pulled out of that filing cabinet I was talking about over there. So we're trying to use every single thing. And right there, I've got 2 more potato plants in pots, although they're not doing as well as these are. So maybe they're not getting enough water. My wife has a lemon there, and we have to bring that in every year or else the winter will get it. I think these are cucumbers in this other little motorcycle tire right here, and it's the same deal. I put a bottom in it. These containers out here with the trellis up on them, I believe she's got cucumbers in there as well, and the idea is to get them growing up that trellis. And they're also, a trellis like that is great for beans. And you'll notice she has some like pollinator flowers in there, and that's to draw in butterflies and bees and things like that, so that, you know, your fruits and vegetables will be pollinated. This is the first year we tried this, and I'll have to let you know how it goes at the end of the year. But this is the case from a washing machine. And basically what I did was I put some pallet boards across the front here and just screwed them on. And the idea, and the reason I like doing potatoes in containers like this, is because the idea is at the end of the year, you can just flip this thing over and dump everything out, and then you don't have to dig at all. You can just pull your potatoes out without running the risk of damaging them. So that's a good deal. We got a little bit of a late start, but we've got carrots coming up right here. We were out here pulling weeds last night, and we noticed some of these weeds that we were pulling are actually carrots that we put in. We kind of forgot about that, and I think those are beans back there if I'm not mistaken. More chives down there. These clusters right here, these 2 clusters, those are mint. So you can use those, you know, obviously for mint flavoring and stuff like that. But one of the things my wife showed me that I never thought about was that if you want to freshen your breath a little bit, you can chew on one of those mint leaves. So that may be something to keep in mind. And in a grid down situation, you know, if you're brushing with like baking soda or other alternatives to toothpaste, maybe chewing on a little bit of a mint piece, a mint leaf would freshen your breath up. We've got some okra right here, and I might have it a little overcrowded, but we're gonna see what happens. This okra is so, it's just so strong and powerful. It can just grow in almost any condition. You can see we've got some jalapenos right there. Those are really spicy, so that's good. More chives. We didn't end up planting these 3 sections right here, and I don't remember what she's got down there. Maybe more bush beans and those kinds of things. This asparagus has really taken over this bed right here. That's what this is right here. And it's kind of long and leggy. It gets in the way a little bit. So that's mostly asparagus. We do have some cherry tomatoes down there on that side, and I'll show you those when we go around. This is the first time that we've tried this method. It's called the 3 sisters method of growing your corn and your beans and your squash. So let me get it over here where we can hopefully get a better shot of this. But essentially what you do is you go in and build a mound up, and you plant corn in the center, and then squash around the outside, and then you kind of disperse some beans along in there. Now, for whatever reason, none of our beans have come up yet, but ideally the squash shades the ground so it keeps the corn from drying out so fast. And the beans, you want to get the kind that are viney, and they'll grow up and vine around the corn, and that will help the corn kind of be rooted to the ground. So if big winds come through, they won't get blown over. But so far, this is the best luck with corn we've ever had. Now, we're trying to do organic gardening as much as possible, meaning we're not putting any like pesticides or any kind of chemical fertilizers or anything like that on there. So, you know, that has kind of mixed results. Sometimes you can have a really great looking crop like this, and then right before harvest time, the bugs will come in and just eat all of it. You know, they can eat every bit of your corn, and it's tragic when that happens. So of course the commercial farmers will put some sort of pesticides on there, and we're trying to just stay as you know, pesticide free as we possibly can. So anyways, these down here on the end, I just did them in small rows to see how that goes compared to the sister's gardening method. And as you can see, my sister's plants are all much taller than these ones I put in rows. So I find that interesting. I planned on coming back in here and planting some squash, but I just never got around to it. We just got so busy with everything going on and trying to keep up with everything. But yeah, this is one of those things you can do in a pretty small amount of space. So you can definitely get away with a lot of this stuff in most of your city backyards, urban settings, with little container gardens like this. And I just wanted to give you a few ideas. Now, if you're out in the suburbs, that might mean that you can do even more stuff. So I'm going to take you over here and show you our chicken setup, and we've had really good luck with that, and it provides us with lots of good fresh farm fresh eggs. So another thing we have here are some different fruit bearing trees. This one here is a pecan tree. Now unfortunately last year a bad ice storm took about half of it down, but it doesn't seem to be affecting it. So I'm planning on coming up here somewhere and cutting the top so that it's not all gangly and leaning to one side like it is. I'll cut that top off and we'll try to see if it'll come back around, because this is a productive pecan tree. And over behind it, you can't see it. Now you can. There's another little smaller pecan tree over there, and it's in good shape still. And you have to have two of them. Yeah, I think it takes a male and a female on the pecans to get any production. As I said, we have a maple tree over there. Although I've never tried to tap it, I've heard that it's possible to do that. So that may be something we do in the future, although I think it's the wrong time of the year right now. We also have a couple of pear trees and mulberries. We have quite a few mulberries, and blackberries grow here like crazy. So usually we kind of trim the blackberries back because they'll take over your yard if you let them. But that's one of those things that this year I'm actually letting them grow a little bit, just so that if we need to pick blackberries to survive, we'll be able to do that. In typical fashion, you know, if you guys hadn't figured this out about me yet, I try to do things on the cheapest possible method. You know, I like to do things cheaply and good, though. I still want it to be high quality. I just don't want to pay any money for it because I'm a cheapskate. So anyways, a buddy of mine hooked me up. That's a pallet there that's laying there. Now I've got one post holding that up, and the other post is held on by the end down here. But I took a pallet right here, and that's like a 10 foot, 4-inch pallet or something like that. And I came over here and I cut another one down like this, and that's so that I can give my chickens a place right out here in front of the chicken coop to go out and, you know, get fresh grass and all that sort of stuff, eat their salad, get their bugs, that sort of thing. And I like to keep it simple, keep it as simple as possible. So what I did here, instead of going out and buying hinges, well, let me get out of the way here so you guys can get a good view of this, is I just put a pin down. I don't know if I'm gonna be able to point to this accurately, but I put a piece of rebar down, and I had to round those edges off, as you can see. And the whole purpose of that is so that this acts as a gate. And it would make more sense if you knew this is a double layer of 2x4s here. So what I did was I notched it out, and maybe you'll see it a little better as I open the gate. So the way this works is you pull this pin right here, and I've got a short one for like daytime operation, and I've got a long one for if we need more security. But you can see, hopefully, the way I notched that out, it's sort of like making a rabbit on a woodworking project or something like that. I just basically cut some of that 2x4 out on both sections, the top and the bottom, so that this would overlap that, and then I could put a pin down through there, and that would hold everything together. And that's worked really well. Now you can see I had to put some chicken wire on there, because otherwise the chickens would just be able to come through there. But these pallets gave me a good base to run my chicken wire on, and I could just staple or screw the chicken wire on there, and it's been very good. Now the chickens will jump over it once in a while, but for the most part, they stay back here. All right, tell me about it, buddy. And this thing here is a dog kennel that one of my neighbors was actually going to throw away. And I threw a blue tarp over the top of it. I am going to do something more permanent in the future, like throw a few pieces of barn tin across there to give them a little better roofing structure. But the blue tarp is held up good enough. About once a year I have to change that blue tarp out. But here are our backyard chickens. Get a little more light on them here. And it's been great. We've got 6 hens and 2 roosters. Now, we started out with 8 hens and 2 roosters, but one of our roosters ended up, we think he bred her so aggressively that he ended up actually killing her. He choked her out, killed her, whatever. And the other one, she actually had like, I don't know what they call it. It's not bumblefoot, but it's basically where when their claws form, it was all like twisted up and stuff. And we tried making a little splint to put on there. Oh yeah, tell me all about it, buddy. We tried making a little splint on there to straighten them out, but it didn't work out. We really like these water dispensers here. They've been our best. They've held up the best. They have a way to hang from a chain, which is what we do. And hopefully you can see this. I've got 3 nesting boxes that I made out of just plastic crates, and I put them up there, and they have perches so they can jump up there at nighttime. They love to get on the perches and just hang out. And some of them will sleep in the nesting boxes, and that's a little annoying because then they poop in there in the nesting boxes, and then, you know, that's kind of gross. But this cage actually, now that we've got it set up like this, it actually stays here. And what we do is once in a while we'll come in here, you know, once a month or so, come in here with a yard rake and rake the top layer of manure off, and then we can go throw that into our compost bin. So next year that'll be ready to help grow fruits and vegetables. Just my setup here, I keep a bucket of food ready to serve, and this is their feeder here. And I don't know if you'll be able to see in there or not. It's kind of dark in there, but that, you know, I can throw feed in there. I don't usually fill it up because I don't want to be having, you know, mice and stuff like that coming around. Normally what I give them is 1 big coffee can per day for all of the birds that live in here, which is 7 birds, 6 hens and 1 rooster. Down here. So yeah, down here is the pellet feed, and I have a smaller coffee can in there for dipping that out. And up here, this is just corn scratch. And watch this, they love this stuff. It's like the best stuff in the world to them. Find a spot where you guys can see it. This ought to do right over here. So there, look, they're already, that's all of them. They're already interested. They're like, come on, throw it out, what are you doing? They'll let you throw it right on top of them even. I'm not trying to do that, but they always get in the way when you throw one out. But they love them some scratch. So that's one of the ways that if your chickens get out, or you need to control them to make them, like at nighttime, sometimes they won't want to go into the cage. So what I'll have to do is take some chicken scratch and throw it in there, and they can't resist it. So they run inside of there, and then I can lock them up. And over there in that smaller cage, that's where my other rooster is. He's the one that actually was having a problem. He would breed the chickens so hard that he was scratching up their backs. And he was the one that we think killed our other white bird that we had. So we don't let him around the hens very often. Sometimes they do jump over the fence, and then, you know, if they jump over the fence and he's out, and we do let him out. The reason he's actually locked up right now is this rooster is he's such a cock of the walk, he will go and beat up my Rhodesian Ridgeback. He will run over from across the yard and start, you know, kicking my Rhodesian Ridgeback. And of course, these things have spurs on them, so it hurts like hell. I've actually been nailed by both of them on the legs, and on one of them, it was such a bad bruise and scab even through my jeans that it took like a couple of months to heal up. So anyways, chickens are a great thing. They're a lot of fun. I really enjoy it. It's fun to just be out here in the yard with the chickens and watching their antics. But I've been talking for a long time about how, you know, yeah, that's great. These chickens provide us eggs, and I could use them for meat birds. But I don't have a meat operation set up here. What I have is just basically a laying operation. These are all considered laying hens, and we're saving the genetics from these roosters so that we can, you know, bring more laying hens in the next year or so. Because your good laying hens are only going to go for about 3, maybe 4 years before they stop producing eggs at a high quantity. So it'll just basically start falling off. You'll get less and less eggs, and then eventually no eggs. And that's fine if you have the resources and stuff and you want to keep them around forever and just let them die of old age. It seems like the oldest one I ever had was about 4.5 years, and they will eventually die of old age. So you can do that, or you can cull them at that point and then bring in new chicks to replenish your flock. So that's kind of what we're planning on. We're going to set up an incubator and all that stuff real soon. And if we do, I'll do a DIY video on how to make one, because again, I'm not going to pay somebody $100 for a box with a couple of light bulbs in it. I think I can manage that. Of course, the way things are going, I may not be able to buy incandescent light bulbs because, you know, the regulatory stuff that's going on in this nation has all but banned incandescent light bulbs. And we use those on the farm for multiple different things. Even here at my suburb homestead, we use those light bulbs to keep our well from freezing up in the wintertime. So I don't know what we're going to do when we're no longer able to get incandescent light bulbs. It's another one of these crises that's been caused by the communists on the left. But anyways, enough of that. I couldn't resist. I had to go into it at least once. So we got this rabbit hutch a little while back. And if you guys follow the channel, you know that I've talked about getting some rabbits for a little while. There is hardly any other way that I'm aware of to put as much meat on the table with such a small animal. I mean, I've got 2 does on the ends here and 1 buck in the middle, and we'll open it up. He's really friendly. This little buck, he don't care about anything. He'll come right over to the door, sniff you out. Now don't jump out of there, buddy. Don't jump out of there. You're good. You stay right there. That's too big of a fall for you, dude. They're still a little young. They're about 7 weeks old right now, so they're not at the point where they're going to be breeders just yet, but that's the whole point. We've got these for meat rabbits. They're not pets, they're meat rabbits. And so here's one of the females, and these are a Tamuk New Zealand cross. One of the females is pure Tamuk, but the other one is a New Zealand cross, and I'm not remembering which one is which, but obviously if you're going to have rabbits, you're going to have a relatively secure backyard. As you saw when we were walking around over here, my outer section is fenced off, so other neighborhood dogs can't get in here and get to my rabbits and stuff like that. And my dog, he's friendly to all of our livestock. He doesn't care. He just wants to sniff them. You know, now he was really curious when we brought these rabbits in, but I let him come over and sniff up through the bottom of the cage, and once he got a whiff or two, he was fine with it. So these things, each one of these mothers can have up to 5 litters per year. Summertime, wintertime, it doesn't matter. They're one of the rare species that can actually breed year-round. So as a survivalist plan, long-term, off-grid, that sort of thing, rabbits is like one of the best ways to be able to put meat and protein in your body. Now, you wouldn't want to just eat rabbits because they're very, very lean. A lot of people actually eat rabbit because they're so low on the allergenic, how do you say it, the allergen scale. So they're not going to cause you, if you have like allergies to other meats, normally rabbits won't trigger that on you. So a lot of older people eat rabbits because, you know, as you age, you can't eat the hard red meats anymore, or the porks or things like that. So anyways, I'm really excited about this. Of course, if you're going to do it, you're going to have a feeder and some sort of a watering system. And we put a piece of tile in there just to help them stay cool during these really hot months. Again, it was 100 degrees earlier. I think it's cooled down just a little bit now, but you know, 100 degrees is pretty hot for any animal. And as you can see, I've got her some Bermuda grass in there. They seem to really love munching on that. And the other day I was looking it up. You can't just give them any old piece of wood. There are certain woods that are poisonous to rabbits and not good for them. But since I was telling you earlier, I have that pecan tree. Well, pecan wood was one of those woods that you can give them. And now don't get out of there. Don't get out of there. Don't fall out. Let's see, she's the shy one. Now, some of her poop didn't fall through just then. So we'll see how that goes. These were, I didn't build these cages. We got these with the property. So when we bought our other property, our 100 acres that we're trying to develop into a homestead, these rabbit hutches were already there. And they were kind of sitting in disrepair, and we were like, hey, let's get these up and get them over to the suburb house, and maybe we can put them to use. And I've had to do some repairs on a couple of the doors, and one of the cages, the bottom was starting to fall out of one of those cages. There's some rabbit pee coming out right now. But you can see I've only had them for like 4 days, and look at these pellets that are already building up. And the great thing about rabbit pellets is they are almost unbeatable as far as fertilizers you can put in your garden. So what we're trying to create here is a symbiotic relationship where we can scrape these rabbit pellets up, throw them straight in our garden. We don't even have to wait for them to compost or anything, because rabbit manure is ready to go right out of the rabbit's backside, right straight into your garden. So the other thing you could do is set this up, move this hutch over the top of one of your garden beds during the off months, and then they would just be pooping in that spot all year during the cold months, and then you could move them out when it was planting time. So just wanted to show you that. This is another really good byproduct of having rabbits, especially right now with fertilizer being in such short supply all around the world. You want to make sure when you bring new rabbits in that they know where their water is and they know how to get it out, and he's doing a great job. And sometimes I've noticed the buck, he's the most curious, and he's the one that will do things before the others will. And so I think that that's helping. When they see him doing that, they go over and get a drip off the water as well. So you just want to make sure they're drinking and everything, because it's so hot right now. Hours without water could kill them. So you want to stay on top of that. I usually come out here twice a day. I come out midday when it's the hottest, and I change it out to the coldest water I can put in there from the tap, and then it stays relatively cool for the rest of the afternoon, and I check it again in the evening before I go to bed. But yeah, they're doing really well, and we're really happy about this, because it's just, again, it's a game changer. When you can produce things on your own property, it gives you a level of independence. And I believe that's why Thomas Jefferson was such an agrarian. He believed that the United States should be an agrarian economy. That's kind of hard to say, an agrarian economy. And then later on, he realized that, we had to have some industrialization. At first, Thomas Jefferson was very dead set against industrialization. He wanted everyone to run their own farm. Therefore, you would not be reliant on a store or anything like that. So that's what we're trying to do here, guys. I advise you to do the same, because things ain't looking any better. They're looking worse all the time. And I'll tell you, it just gives me peace of mind knowing that if everything went off, if everything failed, I'd be able to keep my animals alive, keep putting eggs on the table, and keep putting rabbit meat on the table. Now again, these are like 6 or 7 weeks old, so it's going to be a couple of months still before we're ready to breed. And it takes about 12 weeks, they say, to grow out rabbits. So once you get the kits, you'll put them in a grow out cage, and when they're in that grow out cage, they can be put on the grass if you want to, and let them eat, natural grass and stuff like that. So pretty cool. And this is my first time with bunnies, so we'll see how this goes. I maybe in 6 or 8 months from now, I may realize it's just too much of a hassle. But so far, so good. I'm really enjoying it. And again, instead of looking at that terrible news all the time, I'm coming out here and pulling weeds in my garden, and coming out here and checking on my rabbits and making sure they're okay, making sure nobody's about to jump out of the door here. He's going to get a little bite to eat. Go ahead, buddy. He's like, what are you putting in my face? Oh, he likes the close-up. He likes the close-up. You are curious as can be. You are curious as can be, huh? Are you going to go back to your tile now that I said that? It's okay, buddy. I'm not going to hurt you. I'm not going to hurt you. Now, I'm going to eat all of your kits, but I'm not going to hurt you. That's what I was telling my wife. She was like, now we can't be looking at these like pets, or we'll be getting too attached to them and stuff. And, again, you can see they are cute. It's not fun to kill something. But I think that's part of the problem with our culture and society today, is that people are too far removed from where their food comes from. And so in an effort to get us more connected with nature and the circle of life, we got rabbits, and I couldn't be happier. So guys, let me know, is there any other small livestock like this that you recommend for people that maybe don't have 100 acres, or maybe they don't even have 20 acres? They've got an urban-sized backyard or a suburb backyard, and they want to be able to produce food on their own. And one other thing I'll tell you about rabbits, if it came down to it, You could feed rabbits off of the pellets. You could just feed them straight grass and hay and stuff like that. They're probably not going to grow out as quickly that way, but you'd be able to keep them alive. Now the chickens, on the other hand, you definitely need the food, or you need to come up with some sort of a way to provide them food in case you can't buy it one day at the feed store. One of the things we do is we try to stay stocked up on it, so that in case everything collapses, at least we'll have enough for a while. Oh, they love this. Getting in there and taking a dust bath. It's pretty fun to watch them. But anyways, guys, I hope you've enjoyed this. I'm trying to provide solutions for people that, you know, I know how it is. It's really, really unsettling right now. These are crazy, crazy times we're living through. Hang in there. Get yourself some backyard livestock. Check with your HOAs and your neighborhood codes and all that stuff first, so you don't get your heart broken. But as you can see, in my suburb backyard, it doesn't take up a whole lot of room.